Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to another Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid unboxing. This is for the big set, Light and Darkness. This is definitely one of the more unique sets, being that we don't get a full Ranger team. All the big boxes have so far had a complete team. We've had the original set, of course, Mighty Morphing. Then there was Shattered Grid with Hyperforce. Then there was Rise of the Psycho Rangers with the Space Rangers. Even to an extent, we had Heroes United, which didn't have 100%, had kind of two smaller teams, because we had Beast Morphers, and then we had the Omega Rangers, even though we didn't get every single one of them, but we got the core 3 for each of those. This one instead has a neat theme of heroes that were villains first and then became heroes. And so they're all generally like the auxiliary rangers, or like the 6th, 7th rangers, stuff like that, which also makes it really cool. We also get 4 brand new teams we haven't seen anything from before, so we're diving into those. So there's really some neat things there. So we're going to get more different characters we don't normally get, starting off some brand new teams. Plus we're going to get some new minions, and a new idea on the minions, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have in the box. So of course we're going to have our instruction book right away. Though this is an add-on, even though it's a big box set, like all the other sets, you always have to have the core. It's going to show us our different characters. We're going to get Jared, Heckle, Leanbow, Merrick, Batalon, and Kaizon. These are our 5 heroes, and then we get their evil forms, which we'll go through as we get, of course, with all of them. Have more nemesis if you haven't seen the nemesis thing. Basically, nemesis, the quick gist of them are, they work the same way as all the regular monster figures do, except they're just a tad bit higher difficulty. And they have a card that activates every turn. Like their deployment card will have a special ability, and they'll do extra stuff. And then we're also getting now Elite Foot Soldiers, which is a brand new mechanic. So basically, we started off with boss, monsters, and foot soldiers, so like hard, medium, weak, essentially difficulty. And now we're having them 2 ones in between. So the Elite Foot Soldiers are just a little bit better than the regular foot soldiers. At least in this set, they're being made up out of kind of like the monster of the episode, or the monster of the week thing. So it'd be kind of neat if they do this in later sets or not. So then we have, of course, how our Elite Foot Soldiers work. They work the same way as everything else, with the exception of if you defeat them, you put an extra hit out, so they're worth 2. So regular foot soldiers only worth 1, they're worth 2. Then there's a bunch of extra rules on how all the different rangers and other cards work. I'm not going to get into all those. And then our new locations. Of course, here's our credits for all our awesome people that work on this. Definitely big shoutouts to Jonathan Ying, who designs it, and Scott Jada, who is part of Renegades, who produces it, because he's always on the Facebook thing talking with us. Both of them are, plus everyone else that's on there. Some of the other guys hop in from time to time as well. Definitely awesome. Let's look at our locations quick. Every new game adds a new location. So the focus of this one, this set, because we're not following one major team, is we're going to Jungle Fury. And they did that because we have one of our main character, one of our characters, including our boss character, are from Jungle Fury. Plus, that's where the foot soldiers are from. So we have the Ocean Bluff Reservoir, which has 6. And if we flip it over, it says this location loses its panic tokens as soon as it contains fewer than 5 foot soldiers and no monsters or bosses. So you don't even have to wipe everything out to get rid of that panic token. You just have to knock it down. Knock it down enough so it's not full anymore. Then we also have the Kaizon Academy, which has 5. You get a 5 and a 6. And this is kind of the exact opposite. This location gains panic tokens as soon as it contains 4 or more enemies. This one will panic a lot quicker. I always like that they do these 2 different locations, sort of like similar abilities, because then it kind of like makes them work like nice together. But if you separate them, you're gonna get a lot more variety. Then the last thing we'll have for that is we'll have our, quote unquote command center, which is the Jungle Karma Pizza. And of course, you have the red side if you want to play the harder mode. And now they don't print the text for what this does, but let's read in the book and say what it does, is why I jumped to these first. So basically what they do is they replace the original command center. So normal time you go to the Power Ranger base set, you go to the command center, you get a power up action, which means you get to reshuffle your discard, your hand in, redraw all your cards, refresh your tokens, you basically get refreshed, but you have to spend them 2 move actions. You have to spend 1 to go to it and 1 to come back out. So then lots of the other command centers give you other abilities to do that might justify going there or not going there. This one's actually kind of interesting. So it says, during setup, place 2 action tokens on Jungle Karma Pizza, in addition to any action tokens gained when playing with fewer than 5 Rangers. Any Ranger may flip an action token on Jungle Karma Pizza face down to perform a recovery action. So recovery action lets you take from your discard pile up to 6 shields worth of cards. So a power-up actually lets you go into the command center, reshuffle everything, and then basically restore your deck back up to your 10 cards and then draw what you want. Recovery just lets you take up to 6 shields worth, which could be 2 3-cost shields or 3 2-cost shields, or whatever order you go in. So this action may recover +1 total shield value of the combat cards from their discard pile at the end of the action phase. Flip all action tokens on Jungle Karma Pizza face up. So what's neat about this is you don't actually have to be so it doesn't sound like you actually have to be at the Jungle Karma Pizza to do this. But what makes it interesting though is because it uses up your action tokens, so you only have so many to do. And it's only two of them if you're playing a 5-player game. Just basically 2 characters can spend those to get a free point. But you can't use those action tokens for other things. You might be able to. So it says, Rangers can perform power up when they move to the jungle, only to the regular command center. But otherwise, this can be treated as a command center for all other purposes. So it's definitely a different way to do it. So instead of having to run back and do a full heal, you can kind of maybe stay out of combat and not have to spend that and do a small heal. Sometimes that might be just enough of what you need. But sometimes you might actually have to go back and get everything. Because you also, when you do a power-up action, you get your energy tokens back. By doing a recovery action, you don't. So they're going to give us 2 extra action tokens, just so that way you have them. Alright. So that's definitely cool. It'll be interesting to see how well that works out for everything. I'm trying to figure out where to put everything. There's too much stuff. Alright, let's hop in and look at our Rangers. So I think what we might do here is we'll do a Ranger, then a Villain. Ranger, Villain, and we'll do it that direction. Just because that way we kind of keep the 2 guys that go together. So you'll have to bear with me for a moment while I dig out all the different ones. So we're going to start with our Black Ranger here. So this is Jared. Let me put his card up here. You guys can see what I'm talking about. I'll move my camera here. So Jared, the Black Lion Warrior from Jungle Fury. So he was originally the boss, or like the main bad guy of the show, and then at one point, basically he was being controlled, and he realizes the error of his ways, and he becomes a good guy. Camille was also like his second in command, also does that, so I wonder if we're going to get her at some point. We do have RJ, the Purple Ranger, but we do not have the main 3 Rangers yet. So it will be interesting to see when we get them. Alright, so what's Jared do? The Black Lion Warrior. This is not the Black Jungle Fury Ranger. They're the Black Lion Warrior. He has Ferocity. Once per turn, instead of playing a card, you may discard 1 card from your hand to perform an attack with 2 dice. So this is kind of neat, you know, like, well, why would you want this ability? Why would you want to have to discard perform an attack? Don't you have anything in your hand that's better? The Black Lion Warrior actually has one of the most interesting decks I've seen. He has no attack cards. So this is actually a very interesting thing. So you're going to have 2 copies of, I'm going to slide him off the way for a sec so we can zoom in on this a little bit better. 2 copies of Cause of Fire, which is a maneuver. Choose an enemy card with a health value of 4 or less, immediately defeat that enemy. Just straight up, he's going to jump in and defeat an easier enemy. 2 copies of Intercepting Strike, which is reaction. Play this card when any ranger discards a card for defense, dealing a amount of hits equal to the enemy card of your choice equal to the number of shields on the discarded card. So this could be like, hey, I really need that 1 hit. Dude, you need that. Someone has to discard like a 3 cost, you may gain a huge benefit for it. Then he has another reaction, Lion Combo. Play this card when any ranger defeats an enemy card with an attack. You may perform an attack with 2 dice. So that's a good follow-up. It's also nice, this is when any ranger defeats an enemy card. So it can be anybody else. So he could play his Ferocity ability, discard one of his other cards, do attack with 2 dice, defeat someone, then react to himself and perform another attack with 2 dice. Or he could play his first card, because his first one does say defeat an enemy. He could play this, immediately defeat that card, and then it says you can perform an attack to defeat another one. So you can combo even with his own cards, which is really cool. Then we have a 2 copies of Lion's Roar. Gain 2 energy until the next ranger's turn in this battle. Each time a ranger suffers damage, reduce that damage by 2. So this is nice to play maybe early on, or if you know something's coming up. Just to help you out, like, hey, gain 2 energy, set someone up, and then you can take a hit. Then we have 1 copy of Spirit of the Lion, so this is weapon, essentially. Until the end of this battle, at the end of each ranger's turn, including this one, if you do not perform an attack, you may perform an attack with 2 dice. Yes, this is really cool, because then you just to perform, anyone wants to play maneuvers to build up some energy, you could play that if you play this right off the bat. Then every time someone's just trying to play energy cards to build up stuff, you could get some free attacks. And it doesn't even end if you're making attacks. If you play this, the next turn someone attacks, it's fine. But then, 3rd turn someone plays a maneuver or doesn't play something, great. And then we have his special, like, team ability, which is Zenaku Power. Reaction. Play this card at the start of any ranger's turn. Till the end of his turn, add 1 die to each attack. I love this also each attack. So if you make multiple attacks, so again, he could combine this with his other stuff. He could play Zenaku Power to start of his turn, uses Ferocity to discard a card to do a 2 attack, defeat it, then use Lion Combo to defeat something, roll another 2 dice, and if he defeats something else, he can even combo that into another one. But then each one of them times you just roll 3 dice. So rolling 3 dice and then lion combo it into another 3 dice. Potentially, maybe if you have a second lion combo, you could play 4 cards with him on one turn and do a lot of damage. So he is very powerful, but it's very interesting. He's the first guy that doesn't have any direct attacks. All his cards are reactions and maneuvers. So it's kind of like he's like a support character. If a support character almost only cared about doing damage. Like he'll come in and like finish stuff off essentially, but he's not gonna like be the forerunner. So if he's by himself, it's neat because he can still do his own thing. Then let's look at his Zord. We'll zoom back out for a sec. We have the Lion Animal Spirit. So his Zord says, exhaust this card before any ranger performs an attack with 3 dice or fewer. Add 2 hits to that attack. So just straight up adding 2 hits regardless of how many dice they're doing, as long as there's 3 or fewer. And again, this works really well with all his. All his let him roll 2 dice. So if he has his Zord, he can now roll 2 dice, and then get 2 free hits, which is that, hey, if he defeats him, then Lion Combo kicks off even more, and then he gets, that is definitely cool. Yes, I really like Jared. I'll have to see how well he pairs with RJ, the Purple Jungle Fury, plus can't wait to see how the other Jungle Fury Rangers all work. They seem to be a little bit more kind of like aggressive, not aggressive, they seem to have a little bit different ways of going about doing stuff. I know RJ had some different techniques and stuff, so I wonder if the regular Rangers will follow more of the regular norm, or if they'll still be a little bit odd. Alright, so that was our first Ranger. Then let's look at his dark side. He becomes Daishi. Well, actually, Daishi becomes him, rather. That's not him. I grabbed the wrong mini. We want this one. Here we go. That makes more sense. Yeah, it's just kind of got like eagle armor or bird armor instead. If I remember the story right, which I haven't watched the series in a little while, is that basically all the Rangers are training at the academy, and he ends up being like too aggressive wherever he can, and just basically essentially possessed by an evil force. And then later on he becomes good. I do like that the poses of the miniatures are also kind of, they're not like exact opposites, but you can kind of see where he keeps kind of the same stance because it's the same guy. So I do like that. That was really a really neat little design there. Alright, so what can Daishi do against us? So he's going to have 2 copies of, he's the boss for this set. So we're going to start off with the boss, the big bad, Beast King Claws. Fast and passive. Once this card has resolved, deal 2 damage to each ranger at the end of each turn in this battle. So, so yeah, I mean, 2's not a lot, but if you're getting, activates kind of quick, especially because it's fast. So you want to take this guy out as soon as you can. Then he has 2 copies of Beast King Fang. So this is like him shooting off his lion card. It's also another fast and passive. Once this card is resolved, deal 4 damage to the lead ranger at the end of each enemy turn in battle. So this one does more to one character. I also like that they're, at least so far at this one, it kind of mimics the ranger cards, because we had like he has like claws. He's got claws, and he's got Spirit of the Lion. He's got his Beast King, and then we had Lion's Roar, and then we're going to get Ferocious Roar. So there's all these dragons popping out of him. 6 health. Skip the next 2 ranger turns in battle. That's definitely not helpful. He's got 1 copy of that, though. 1 copy of the Phantom Beast Stance, Guard and Passive. Well, this card is in play each time a ranger plays a card that is not the first card played that turn. Deal 3 damage to that ranger. Yeah, so he's basically just going to sit around and stand back and do a lot of damage to you. Then we have the rinsing technique, fast, guard, and passive, which I don't think I've seen another card that has all 3 of them. There might be one, but not very often. Once this card has resolved, drain 1 energy at the end of each enemy turn this battle. So, like, where the Black Lion Warrior, Jared, has a lot of reactions and maneuvers, is kind of playing off everybody else. Daishi kind of stands back and just lets stuff happen. He's like, if you don't deal with me, you're going to take damage. You're going to lose energy. You're going to skip your turns. Like, you have to come at me. But he's not running out, I'm doing 8 damage to you. I'm doing 7 damage to you. It's basically like, he's going to sit there and just essentially let you crumple. So there's that. Then we're going to jump over to our foot soldiers quick. And we're going to do that because they're the other half of the Jungle Fury set. So I just want to go through and shop them. So we're going to start with the Rinshi. So these are these little, kind of like, I want to say they're like based off like Chinese zombies, or Japanese zombies kind of thing. That's the idea of them. But yeah, they kind of walk with a very stiff maneuver. And you're going to get only 8 of those because you're going to get 4 of the elites, which make up your 12. So the Rinshi are going to have some interesting abilities. We're going to have 3 copies of Rinshi Spear, which is guard and passive. When this card resolves, deal 3 damage. Once this card has resolved, Rangers cannot perform maneuvers. So now look at just comparing this directly to Black Lion Warrior. You just shut half his card down once this resolves. So basically, if he's fighting these guys, he also can't fight half of them anymore. We have 2 copies of Rinshi Encounter. Well, this card is in play after a ranger performs a reaction. They must discard the top card of their deck. Oh, look, there's the other half of his cards. It's just, I love that it just directly shuts down their boss. Their former boss. 2 leaping attacks, deal 3 damage. Nothing super spectacular there, but sometimes you just need a little quick one to defeat. And then 3 copies of Consume Fear. Fast and guard, drain 1 damage. If this location is panicked, deal 2 damage to each ranger. I like the fact that there's something that deals with stuff being panicked. So like early on, not that big of a deal, just does 1. But if they sit around for too long later in the game, they're going to become harder. Then up next, we have, sorry, I figure out where to put all my cards. We have the Elite, the Rinshi Beasts. So these guys, they're, again, trying to remember from the show, they're upgraded forms. There was 5 of them. We only get 4 because you're never going to have more than 4 out at a time. But in the show, there was always 5 of them to kind of match the Rangers. And then they turned into various monsters. So this is what they're doing to get more monsters of the week into the game. So they're all 4 health versus most of the regular foot soldiers are like 2s and 3s. But these guys are, so far, they're always all 4. So we have Toady, who has guard. Drain 1 energy. 2 different rangers must each discard 1 card from their hand. Stingerella. Fast, deal 3 damage. Skip the next ranger turn this battle unless the ranger discards 2 cards from their hand to prevent this effect. Rankipede. Guard and passive. When this card is in play, each time another enemy card deals damage, increase that damage by 1. Porcuponger. Fast and guard. Well, this card is in play after a ranger attacks this card or an adjacent enemy card, deal 2 damage to that ranger. So stuff like this, you're going to like take these guys out in 1 hit, if possible. Nausea. Remove 1 enemy figure from the experience track to play 1 Rinshi to this location. That is definitely a fun card. Mantor just deals 6 damage. Straight up. Gakko instead deals his Fasting Guard and deals 3 damage to each ranger. Which, there's that thing, is which one is worse? 6 straight damage to one character, or 3 damage to each character. Now, if you have 2 characters, it's the same amount of damage. It's still 6. But if you have 5 rangers, that's, 15 damage instead of 6, which is a lot worse. But it's probably a lot easier to it's going to cost you 1, maybe 2 cards. You can maybe keep the second card to block 3 damage. But 6 damage, it's going to, at bare minimum, cost you 2 cards, probably 3 cards. So it's kind of like, it's interesting to see which one you think is actually worse. And then we finally have Buffalord. Deal 4 damage unless the ranger discards 2 cards from their hand to prevent it. So those are the Rinchi Beasts. I kind of hope they keep up with this idea. It'd even be neat if they made, like, an older pack that kind of went with... Like, I don't know how you do it, because, like, canonically, the Rinchi Beasts turned into these characters. So that makes sense. I don't know how you would apply it to other seasons, since that's not the way that worked. But even if you just had, like, one of the generic monsters representing, like, the figure representing all of them, or you just added cards in there that you could add, like, example, if you want to do the original Power Rangers, you just do something with, like, oh, this stick this thing that replaces the putties or something. But it would be neat to have that for, like, some of the older, like Mighty Morphin, especially, like, that had 3 seasons worth of characters. Just to get more different monsters in there. So let's see what they do with this. Not going to get too speculative into it. We'll just see what happens. Because even if the next set comes out, they might not touch this. It might be 2 or 3 sets later. Who knows? Alright. Up next, let's look at... I'm going to pause and I'll grab my next character. Alright, I did miss one of Daichi's cards. He has 2 of these rings and techniques. Just want to make sure I did point that out. And then just to kind of show off on how the foot soldiers work. So you have, like, Paizu Academy. So I'm going to have my 5 cards for that, and then my 5 for the Ocean Bluff Reservoir. So what you're going to get, though, is you're going to get 1 Rinchi, 2 Rinchi, 3 Rinchi, and then you're going to get 1 that's the Beast Rinchi and the regular, or 1 that's just a Rinchi Beast. So it is kind of neat. Is you're going to get these a little bit more powerful characters, but you're essentially trading them in for them 3 costs. So you're not going to get as many. You're just going to get a little bit harder guy. So that's why I'm not sure how they're going to add these into other sets, because they still follow the same backing mechanic. If they'd switched over to, because now it's called the Guardian system, if they'd switched over to the same way they're going to do in the new G.I. Joe one, where they, I'll just have, like, generic backs, and then you put little symbols out where they're going to go instead, so that anyone could go to any location. If Power Ranger had switched over to that at this point, which would be really hard to do because you'd almost have to go through and reprint every other character. But if they'd done that, that would have made more sense for this. But so again, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And then we do also have our deployment cards for the other characters. I'm just not going to spend too much time showing them off because they don't do anything. So our next Ranger is going to be the Lunar Wolf Ranger, and I didn't grab his. There we go. Merrick Batalons. This is from Wild Force. So he's definitely an interesting character too. I like the designs. That's awesome. Now that these guys aren't they aren't part of a full team, they each have very interesting designs. So he's the Lone Wolf. Says during each battle, until another Ranger card is played, reduce the energy cost of all Lunar Wolf Ranger cards by 1. So basically, if he goes off by himself, or even if he is in a team, just as long as he's the only one doing anything, his cards are cheaper. Now, one caveat to this rule is that if you're playing, if there's any way for someone to give you an extra card, like I know the Santa character can give up cards, some of the other, might be one other character I think that can pass a card to somebody else. Or if you're playing the legendary mode where you get a mix and match decks or character cards, you play another character's card. So if we combine him with like the Green Ranger, as soon as you play the Green Ranger card, his effect shuts off. Or if somebody else pops in with a reaction or maneuver in front of it, doesn't matter. It shuts it off. And then even if you have a Legendary Ranger, you have two or three different Ranger cards in your hand, he only reduces the Lunar Wolf cards, even if you have other Rangers in your hand. So that's kind of a neat effect. So it's kind of cool as long as he's by himself. But then once you combine him with the other teams, he kind of stops being a team player. So let's see what his cards do. So we have 2 copies of Claws of the Wolf. So attack for 3 dice during the next Ranger turn in this battle. Instead of playing a card, you may perform a dice attack with 3. So it's kind of a neat little idea. So he has to roll for 3 dice, and then instead of playing a card, you do another free attack for 3, which might be just enough. Plus, it saves you energy, stuff like that. And again, if he's playing by himself, this only costs 1, so it's not terrible. 2 copies of Full Moon Slash. So he rolls 3 dice. Gain 1 energy for each missed result rolled during this attack. So that's not bad. You're going to get misses anyhow. And again, playing by himself, it's free. 2 copies of Howling Wolf. Reaction. Play this card at the start of any Ranger turn. Gain 1 energy. You may draw 1 card. The next time any Ranger performs an attack during this battle, they may reroll any one of their dice. Kind of like the Black Lion Warrior. You can see how his cards can somewhat combo into themselves, which is fun, because you could do the reaction, gain your 1 energy, and then you could use that 1 energy to play this attack. And it says, the next time any Ranger performs an attack, they may reroll any number of dice. You could replay this, and then, oh, I did bad, re-roll it, and then you also have the option of then playing another one. So you could go 3 turns off of 0 energy, essentially, because this would gain cost-free, gain you 1, pay 1 to pay for that 1 cost. So there's some interesting stuff there. 2 copies of Trick Shot. He's got this, so his weapon is kind of crazy. It's a pool cue. So we'll see that in the next 2 cards a little bit more, but so this one has 2 dice. If you rolled any missed results during this attack, deal 1 hit to another enemy card that is not adjacent to the target. So if he gets misses, it actually works in his favor sometimes a little bit. So that's interesting. So his 2 special cards, his team card, is Laser Pool Maneuver. At the end of this battle, each time an enemy card is defeated, deal 1 hit to another enemy card that is not adjacent to defeated enemy. Yeah, this is definitely fun. And then now combine like this with Lion Warrior. Play this, end of the battle, anytime an enemy is defeated, deal 1 damage. And then you combine that Lion Warrior's card that says, hey, when something's defeated, you can play this card for free. Or do an extra attack. Like, right, you could keep comboing some of these up very well if he does jump in as a team. Then his signature weapon is the Lunar Q. Does 4 dice. When you resolve this attack, you may ready 1 exhausted Zord card. Which is definitely fun. Get your Zords back. So speaking of that, let's see what his Zords are. And yes, you heard me right. I said Zords. So I don't know if this is going to be a theme for all of the Wild Rangers, or if this is just for him now. But he's got 3 Zords, which work in tandem with each other. So he's got the Alligator Wild Zord. Exhaust this card when any Ranger suffers damage. Reduce that damage by 3. Then swap this with the Hammerhead Shark Wild Zord or the Wolf Wild Zord. The swap card remains exhausted. So it's kind of neat. It's like, it's an ability, but you only get to use it once, and then you have to swap to one of the other cards. But hey, reducing 3 damage isn't bad. The Hammerhead Shark Wild Sword says exhaust this card during battle, gain 1 energy, and deal 1 hit to an enemy card of your choice. So again, maybe not as powerful to some extent as some of the other cards, but you get the versatility of it. And then we have the Wolf Wild Sword. Exhaust this card before any ranger performs an attack. That ranger may drop the 2 cards, ignore the guard keyword. I mean, they're definitely powerful in their own right, but then, now you could easily swip from one and back to that. You could go from wolf to alligator, alligator to wolf. You know, you don't have to even touch the Hammerhead Shark if you didn't want to. It's not like, not telling you have to go in order. It's just kind of neat. But yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Plus, his Lunar Q lets him reuse one of these. So you could set up an interesting combo, like play this one, get your 2 cards, ignore guard keyword, swap to one of the other, then swap over to Alligator Zord, have that sitting around for defense, and then play Lunar Q at some point to ready an exhausted one. So now you have that defense ready for your turn as well. So this is definitely a cool combo. Then our first Megazord of the set is from this one, the Predazord. Once per turn, when any ranger reveals a card for defense, they may choose to gain 1 energy, deal 1 hit to an enemy of their choice, or add 1 shield to the revealed card. So it's kind of a little mixture of all 3 of them cards. Not super great, but you know, that 1 energy could make a difference between playing a higher level card or not playing a card. Same thing, 1 damage could decide whether or not you finish off a character or not, and 1 shield could be the deciding factor. So it's not like overtly powerful. It's not like some of the other rangers that Megazords that constantly do damage every turn, but this could definitely save you. It's just the only thing is it's once per turn. Now, I would assume that his pool Q could also unexhaust this, because a Megazord is a Zord. It doesn't have to just be a small one. Yeah, so that's fun. He's definitely an interesting new character. Then up, so we have his evil version he was before, which was Zenaku. He's like a shadow wolf. Kind of cool. So his is the only one that has a very different pose than his other character, or one of the ones that does. But yeah, it's got this big giant crescent moon blade, which really leans into that wolf theme. Yeah, going on, and he's a nemesis, so he's gonna have his deployment card that says increase all damage Zenaku deals to any ranger by 1 for each Zenaku card that has been resolved, even if it is defeated. Yeah, so he's kind of a pain. He's always going to get extra damage, no matter what. At least because of the fact that it says even if it's been defeated, you don't necessarily have to then worry about defeating his cards. Or, oh, it's already resolved. I should run back and knock it out so I don't take damage, because you're going to take it anyhow. He's got 2 copies of Zord Control, which has guard. It says deal 3 damage. Repeat this effect once for each Zord in play. That is definitely crazy. Early on, 3 damage, not a big deal. He gets played later in the game when you have all 5, or maybe in the Megazord out. That is going to hurt. And then it's not deal damage spread amongst each character. It just says deal 3 damage. So you could probably, because he always attacks the lead ranger, so he's always going to hit that main character for more and more damage. 2 copies of Waxing Arc, which is a moon reference. Deal 3 damage to a single ranger twice. He's got 3 copies of Crescent Wave. Deal 3 damage to each ranger. And then his final one is Full Moon. Again, really playing into the wolf or like werewolf type theme. Fast and passive. When this card is in play, the health value of all unresolved Zenaku cards, including this one, increased by 2. Oh, that is mean. But then again, the nemesis are supposed to be a little bit harder than regular monsters, but maybe not as abusive as bosses. Alright, then we got a bunch of monsters to look at. So let's jump into those. Monsters and more rangers. We got more rangers, of course. Let's look at our first one. Oh, my cards are falling over. So we're going to look at Heckle, the Dino Charge Dark Ranger. So this is also a fun one, too, because he is one... I think he was the last remaining Solar Ranger we didn't have. I think we had at least a different version of every other character that was a Solar Ranger. So I think he was the last one. I might be wrong. We might still be missing one. So it'd be interesting at some point if they re-released... like, at least player cards with all them characters being solar. Now, keep their decks the same, that's fine. You know, maybe neat if they each had their own Solar Ranger deck, which maybe had, like, out of the 10 cards, maybe, like, 2 or 3 of them were, like, 3 of them were, like, brand new, and, like, the other ones were kind of that, like, maybe they kept that team ability, maybe, like, they got the new team ability for the Solar, so that'll kind of work together that way. But then, like, maybe kept, like, 1 or 2 of their cards from this deck, and then some new ones. That'd be kind of a cool thing, like, just a full-on, like, Solar deck. But that's, again, you know, just one of the things that might happen in the future. But he's also purple. We don't have a lot of purple Rangers. We have RJ, the Wolf Ranger, which we've mentioned before. And then we have the, and it was Skull's Ranger, the Purple Ranger from the Mighty Morphin. I think those are the only other Purple Rangers we have. We might have one more. Alright, so what's Heckle do for us? He says Dark Pride. When you would play a card from your hand, you may play the top card of your discard pile instead. If you do, you must discard the top card of your deck. So you have to play the other card first, and then discard the top card of your deck. So you can't discard the top card of your deck to play that one. It's all because it says then. So he's going to be all about playing stuff from his discard pile. So let's take a look at his cards. We have 2 copies of Clandestine Tactics, which show the Solar Rangers here. So we have the Yellow Zeal Ranger and the Rebel Pink Ranger, or 2 of the other Solar Rangers. So that's kind of cool that we show it up on his card. Reaction. Play this card when you start at the start of a battle. Gain 1 energy. You may flip 1 Foot Soldier card face down as though it were defeated. Do not remove the Foot Soldier from that location. That is definitely cool, just to be able to straight up eliminate 1 Foot Soldier. You can also eliminate Elite Foot Soldiers as well. Now again, you're not getting credit for beating them, but if they have a particularly nasty fast attack or a guard right off the bat, you could get rid of something just to help you out. We have 2 copies of Dark Encore, which is a maneuver. Another ranger may immediately play the top card of their discard pile. They must place that card at the bottom of their deck instead of discarding it. This is doubly cool because, 1, it lets someone play a card that they just recently played, which they might really need to help them. Also, it puts it back into their deck, which basically essentially gives them extra life. Just a neat little effect there. 2 copies of Talon Slash with a giant massive boomerang. Attack for 2 dice. If you play this card from your discard pile, gain 1 energy. So there you go. If you play this and you play it the next turn from your discard pile, you can gain energy from it. Or if you discard it for a defense. He's got 2 copies of Spin Cutter. Attack with 3 dice. After this attack resolves, you may discard the top card of your deck. If you do, return this card to your hand instead of discarding it. So his boomerang comes back to him, but it costs him a card to use. But it might be worth using. Plus, it puts a different card in your discard pile for using his other thing. Then his signature weapon is the Spinal Blade. It says, attack for 5 dice. You may ignore the guard keyword when choosing targets for this attack. While this card is in your discard pile, reduces energy cost by 1. So that's even definitely cool with his ability. Yeah, discard it, and then you play it, and you get it in there. He gets to play it for 2, so he gets a nice guard ignore 1 for that. Then his final card is Dark Energem. So this is like his unique special thing. Discard your entire hand. Until the end of this battle, you may play Dark Ranger cards from your discard pile, and you may rearrange the order of your discard pile. Yes, this is kind of neat. So you get rid of your entire hand, but then yeah, you can play anything from your discard pile as well as rearrange them, so that way you can always see what the top one is, and you can play that one, later on. That's kind of fun. Just whatever card he really needs. Especially as the 2 ones that have ability for having stuff in discard. It's a neat ability. Haven't seen something like that before. Whether this will turn out to him being a really awesome card or not, I can't say. Then let's look at our Zord. We have the Spinozord. Exhaust this card at any time. A ranger may return up to 3 cards from their discard pile to their hand. They must then discard an equal number of cards from their hand. So basically, let you get your 3 cards back, figure out what you want, and then you have to discard 3 other ones. So you're not gaining anything directly, but it will let you get the cards you need, which can always be very crucial in this game. Like, I really needed that, signature weapon, or I really needed this maneuver or reaction or whatever. This will basically let you do that. Awesome. So that is our Dark Ranger. Again, let's see. I have to see how it compares to the Spinal Ranger. And then we want his evil form, which is Snide. Which just sounds evil. Alright, so there's Snide. There's these big giant metal things hanging off him everywhere. So I think this is one that's corrupted by the Dark Energy. I have not seen Dino Charger, so I can't say for sure. But I know, like, even in the Solar Rangers, he's constantly sort of like, fighting with the fact that he did evil in the past. Like, it's a thing that he's always kind of worried about. So we're going to get 3 copies of Dark Side Rush. Deal 3 damage to each ranger. If a ranger has one of 3 cards in their discard pile, deal them 5 damage instead. This is also, I like what they did with this, is the monsters that are the evil forms almost directly counter their hero counterparts, their ranger counterparts. So 3 damage, not bad. Has one of 3 cards in their discard pile. Well, Dark Ranger wants cards in his discard pile. We have 2 copies of Exploding Sword. Deal 5 damage to the ranger with the most cards in their discard pile. Deal 2 damage to each other ranger. 2 copies of Slash Tether. Drain 1 energy, or 1 ranger must discard 2 cards from their hand, which then fuels some other abilities. And then finally, he has Split Personality. 1 ranger must shuffle their hand into their deck, then discard half their deck rounded up. They may then draw up to 3 cards. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not directly a good thing either. Like I said, it's neat how they counter it, but it's also more the fact of the villains did this, and then it's like when they became heroes or rangers, they turned to good. They use them bad things to their advantage. Like Snide here wants stuff in the discard pile to hurt everybody. Hey, having cards you went through, having done stuff is bad. And then the Dark Ranger's like, hey, I'll use the advantage of having stuff in there to boost me up. And the other Rangers kind of did the same thing. They were like, with the Jungle Furies, it was about playing maneuvers and stuff was bad. And then they gain bonuses. And then, like, the other one's about having multiple Zords out, and then other Ranger works on having them. Alright, so let's hop into our next Ranger. We're going to look at the Mystic Rangers. We have Leanbow, the Wolf Warrior. See if we can zoom in on him. So yeah, he's the Royal Knight. Definitely go with it. Not dragon. Wolf shoulders. He's got a big old shield there. He's gonna play on some familiar themes we've seen. We have For Honor. Once per battle, when any ranger reveals a card for defense with no star ability, you may reveal a card from your hand and use its star ability as if it were revealed for defense. So this is definitely a fun one. It would be neat to combine in Legacy mode. Or you could get other characters that have star abilities, so you can get some different ones. Or not, Legendary mode, not Legacy mode. But yeah, even still, it's a neat little idea. So if somebody else has one, you can use your abilities instead. So let's see what his cards do. We're going to have 2 copies of Blazing Storm Slash. Attack for 3 guys. Before rolling, you may place 1 card in your hand on top of your deck. If you do, divide hits from this attack amongst any number of targets. That is definitely cool. You have to choose before you're going to roll, so you could roll really bad. But it's kind of a good gamble to have to take. 2 copies of Counter Jab. 1 dice and 1 free hit, and then it has Star. If this card resolved for defense, you may deal 1 hit to an enemy card of your choice. So this is where this other card does work really nicely, because you could, if you put this card on top of your deck, you can use a Star ability for, if it's revealed for defense. So I just put it on top of your deck. So you can put this card on top of your deck and have it ready for defense. And then reveal it and do 1 extra hit. 2 copies of Mystic Flame. Maneuver, deal 1 hit to an enemy card of your choice, then up to 2 adjacent enemies. So this guy's all about just doing some direct damage, which is really nice. And he's got Wolf Armor, 2 copies of that. Play this card when any ranger suffers damage, reduce that damage by 2. And then Star, if this card revealed for defense, it gains 1 shield. So you can use this as well. Then he has his team ability, which is Shield of Light. Reaction, play this card when any ranger uses his Star ability, gain 2 energy or add 2 shield to the revealed card. And then we finally have his signature weapon, the Night Saber. Attack for 5 dice. And then, if this card is revealed for defense, you may treat it as having the star ability of another card in your hand or discard pile. Yeah, so then basically we can get away with using one of the other abilities. And then the fact is that he can also use his star ability to get one of the other ones. So it gives him a lot of versatility. Just like imagine, so like this says, reveal a card from your hand and use its star ability. So it's kind of neat is you can reveal this one, then use one that's in your discard pile. So like that essentially lets you use almost any card you have, which is pretty crazy. All right, then we're going to have our Megazord, not Megazord, our regular Zord. We have Castoros. Exhaust this card when any ranger uses a star ability. That ranger may use that ability 2 more times. Now this also again be fun, I said, with mixed up with the legendary mode where you have multiple rangers cards in one deck, or just playing with other rangers that have star abilities. Now unfortunately, no other ranger in this set has star abilities, so you have to find another one. I believe the blue Mighty Morphin and was it the Green Zeal Ranger, I think was maybe the other one. I can think of off the top of my head. There's only a few guys that have these star abilities. I don't remember them all directly. Alright, so then let's look at his evil counterpart. Set these off to the side, and we have Corg, who's like the purple Dark Knight. This one's probably like the most one-to-one comparison for the differences. So there's his. You know, if we actually look at them together, you know, it's basically the same exact shield. Have the same sword, same armor, shoulder pads, everything. You know, basically the difference is just one was purple and one was red. So he goes from the dark purple to the red. Basically because he was corrupted by, like, shadow or something. One of these seasons, again, I didn't get through, and then they took everything off the, off of, like, Netflix and stuff, so I haven't been able to watch any of the older seasons. Alright, so we're gonna have, Wolf Attack to start with. 2 copies of this. Fast. Each ranger must reveal the top card of their deck. Deal damage equal to the number of shields revealed in each card. Increases by 2 for each star ability revealed, divided amongst the rangers they choose. So, yeah, this is, again, opposite. The Leanbow Red Ranger here wants to use stars. Corg here, the monster is going to be basically like stars are bad. You're going to pay for using them. We have 3 copies of Shield of Darkness. To counter the Sword of Light. So we have lowest cards in play. Each time a ranger deals hits to this card, deal the same amount of damage to that ranger. Guarding passive. 2 copies of Dark Magic Strike. Fast. Each ranger must play the top 2 cards of their deck and discard the cards with the most shields. And then finally, 1 copy of Eye of the Master. Lowest cards in play, rangers cannot perform reactions or use star abilities. When this card resolves, drain 2 energy. Yeah, so that basically shuts down Leanbow if you're fighting with him. I keep calling him Leanbow. It's Leanbow. Leanbow? I'm not sure. Also, not only use your action abilities, that shuts down the Dragon Warrior as well a little bit. Alright, so then we have... No, you go there. I'm trying to put these guys back in their cases. Alright, then we have 1 Ranger bad guy combo left. We have Operation Overdrive. And we're going to get Kaizon, the Mercury Ranger. He's definitely interesting looking. He's one of the ones that has a very different form and unique. It looks nothing like his main character or his villain. But we'll be looking forward to that. We got another Silver Ranger though. So Kaizon has Mercurial Force. Once per battle, for any ranger rolls any number of dice, you may use this ability. If you do, convert all misses rolled into double hits and vice versa. Yeah, so that could definitely be helpful. And then also, if this is combined with our Lunar Wolf Ranger, who has a trick shot, you know, if you roll any misses, they deal 1 damage. So basically, if you roll doubles, you can turn them into misses, and vice versa. And then you had the same thing with that one, where if he gets any misses, rolled during this attack, you know, gain energy. So, like, this could be an interesting way to, like, if you combine that. The only problem is you have to use it beforehand, so it's very reactionary. Let's see what his cards do to help us out. We have 2 copies of Chain Combo. 3 dice. After rolling, remove 1 die from this attack. So basically, if you don't like that 0, get rid of it. You know, it's just kind of interesting. We have 2 copies of Mercury Guard. Reaction, play this card when any ranger suffers damage. Roll 3 dice. For each die, you may either reduce that damage or gain energy equal to the hit result. Again, since it's very not sure what you're gonna get, but it could work well with his ability. You roll all zeros, or a bunch of blanks. Those 3 dice, you could use his ranger ability to turn them into double hits. Obviously, now you're gaining a lot more damage, reducing damage, or gaining energy. He's got 2 copies of Mercury Strike. Roll 2 dice. During this attack, convert all misses rolled to double hit results, and vice versa. Definitely fun there. I mean, the only downside is if you roll a bunch of good hits, also now they're all zeros. So it's a double-edged sword. He's got 2 copies of Metal Sniper. X cost 1 die. Add a number of dice to this attack equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. You may ignore guard keyword when choosing a target for this attack. So basically, he gets his own Blade Blaster like the Power Rangers have. Except he has to roll dice instead of dealing direct hits. So he could always, again, do really good or really bad with that. Then he's got his, quote-unquote team ability, the Mercury Overdrive. Maneuver. Until the end of this battle, each time a ranger rolls at least 1 double hit result, gain 1 energy. Place this card on top of your deck instead of discarding it. And then finally his ability is Drive Detector. Roll 5 dice. After rolling, you remove 1 die from this attack. If you do, any ranger may search their deck for a card, add it to their hand, and shuffle their deck. I love that it's after rolling too, so basically you can get rid of whatever result you want. And then, yeah, go ahead and, have any ranger find a card from their deck. So that's definitely a good support card. Alright, then we have some Zords. We have the Rescue Runners. He gets 3 Zords on 1 card. Exhaust this card before any ranger rolls exactly 3 dice. Treat those dice as if they were results of 0, 1, and 2. So this could combo with some other characters really well. They get bonuses from doing certain things, as long as you have to roll exactly 3 dice. Which could be very well, if you have cards that roll 2 dice, and then you play someone that adds an extra die, then this could kick in. So you could definitely set up some cool combos with that. And then we get our second Megazord for the game. We have Flashpoint Megazord. Exhaust this card at any time to replace a Megazord token at any location. Each time a ranger in that location rolls at least 2 hit results, that ranger may return 1 card from their discard pile to the bottom of their deck. And then we'll get the little token for it. The only downside is we didn't get a token for the Predazord. Not that you needed one, but they've been trying to keep up printing off tokens for all the Zords anyhow. But it's still neat. I'm wondering if Operation Overdrive characters, just the other Rangers, just based on him, are going to have very specialized abilities. Like his is all about hitting zeros and misses. I wonder if the other ones are going to have to do with, like, one guy will have to maybe do with reactions, one will have to do with maneuvers, one will have to do with guards, maybe one will do something if you only roll regular dice. So if they're going to be very specialized characters versus kind of more blanket characters. It'll be interesting to see when they finally make them as Rangers. Alright, then our last enemy is Cursed Kaizon. So he's got this hideous monster form. As you can see, like I said, his is the one that definitely looks very different. With the one weird exception that they both have their arms out. They're using staff-like weapons. But that's a very big stretch. So what's Cursed Kaizon do to us? He's going to have 2 copies of Thunderbeam. Deal 8 damage divided among the Rangers as they choose. 2 copies of Metal Hunter. Each ranger must reveal a card from their hand with the most dice in its attack value. Deal damage to each ranger equal to the number of dice in their card's value. So some of these guys that have like 5, 6 dice or have a lot of attack dice, this guy's going to hit a lot harder. We have 3 copies of Empowered Lance. Roll 1 die and deal twice that damage to each ranger. If the result was 0, deal 3 damage to each ranger instead. And then finally we have Liquid Form, which is a very interesting card. While this card is in play, rangers cannot deal hits on enemy if another enemy card has more hit token than that card does. So basically, if you have 4 enemies out and one of them has 2 damage, everything else has 1 or less, you have to take out the one with 2 damage first. And then if you get down to, okay, now I have 2 cards that have 2 damage, one that has nothing, you have to damage one of those 2 cards that have 1 hit each first. Then as soon as one of them has more damage, you have to only target that one. So you kind of almost have to take this guy out first, or it's going to very much limit what you can hit. Which is a very interesting and neat ability for a villain. I can see something like this would be very cool for like the Mastermind cards they had, where you could play as a villain. You could play something that might affect it. It'd be kind of neat to have like a static effect out there. You could be like attach this card to a villain, and then this effect happens. So until they defeat that villain, then it affects everybody. That'd be kind of a neat way to expend some of these cool monsters' abilities that could work with other characters in different sets. Did I not put something back right? I am missing... Oh, I didn't put him back in there. Alright, so that is what we have for... Alright, move all my cards and everything on top of my book. Alright, so that's what we got for Light and Darkness. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So there's also, came at the same time as this, there's also the Villain Pack 5, which is Terror Through Time, as well as the Fan Appreciation Kit, which I will do videos for as well. So yeah, I think right now we're only missing three or four teams. I don't think we have anything from RPM yet. Although they have released the deck building set. So maybe that's, indication or trying to maybe see how well that's going to play. We only have 1 Ranger. Some of the teams we only have 1 Ranger. It's the 6 Rangers. We don't have anything from RPM. We don't have anything from Megaforce, which I'm not even sure how they're going to do that set. That'll be interesting. And then I think the other ones we don't have would be Dino Fury, which is the set that is, or the show that's currently on the air, so they might be waiting until the show is done, just so they don't accidentally reveal any spoilers. But I think other than that, we have at least 1 Ranger from every team now. So that's definitely awesome. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye.